I gave my first speech at my high school graduation, did a few readings during my undergrad, and I've done a lot of speaking since then. A reading in support of migrants, public library reading, an art center reading, numerous online readings, online introductions of other people who are reading, an MFA graduation reading, a memorized speech with a giant screen featuring a pre-recorded video behind me, and, most recently, a reading in a decommissioned 63,000 square foot cheese factory, alongside a professional dancer interpreting my words on a makeshift water stage. Needless to say, I've learned a few things. Here are my top tips for speaking in public. Number 1. Arrive early so that you get a sense of the space. There are so many aspects of a space that can impact your performance in it. There's lighting, audio, acoustics. Last month I attended Typo Fest, a local literary festival honoring the end of the Typo Literary magazine, which was founded 20 years ago but put out its final issue last month. And my friend Brooke had come to town to do a reading during the festival. She told me afterwards that there was a lot of echo coming from the mic that made it really hard for her to hear herself while she was reading. And Brooke's an old pro, so she was still great, but I could see someone less experienced freaking out and messing up over something like that. I had a similar thing happen during this performance I did at the Momentary. It's a very strange space to do a reading, with steel everywhere. The audio is unlike any other venue I've been in, and it's incredibly echoey. We had music playing in the background during the reading, but I couldn't hear it at all from the stairwell where I was standing, even though I was literally standing right over it. I could only hear my own voice echoing back. And if we hadn't done numerous run-throughs days before the event, as well as the day of the event, I probably would have had a harder time performing. So if you can, try to visit the space, get to know the space, try out the soundboard, and ideally, do it all in the outfit you plan to perform in. Number 2, wear clothing that makes you feel comfortable and confident. Try not to wear something for the very first time in a performance. I break this rule all the time. I'm always saving new dresses for performances, and then I always regret doing that. Number 3, outline for the audience what you'll be telling them so that they can keep track of it in their minds. Hannah Gadsby does this really well in her latest special. I've found that when I attend readings where numerous people have read and it's been several hours, it can be really easy for my mind to wander. One of my least favorite things that happens sometimes is when a reader gets to the end of their reading and I realize I haven't heard a word they've said. So it really helps when people come to the mic and say, I'm going to read 5 poems. And then as they read, they drop a few more cues, like finishing the first 2 poems and saying, I'm going to read 3 more poems. Or finishing all but the last and saying, I'm going to read just 1 more poem. You don't have to do it after every single poem, but just offer little cues every so often to anchor your audience and help them find focus again if their minds have wandered. That way they don't miss the whole reading, only parts of it. Number 4, use a paperclip to anchor you. By anchor, I mean basically stab. This is a tip that I haven't had a chance to use personally yet, but my friend Kate uses it. She says that it directs your brain away from anxiety to the stabbing pain in your hand, because apparently your brain registers pain first, so it registers the pain before the anxiety. Personally, I think the fear of pain would be enough of a hindrance to keep my anxiety away, but who knows. On a related note, number 5, if you're feeling afraid, tell yourself that you're just excited. Your brain won't know the difference because they're very similar feelings. They trigger the same physiological response. I learned this from a few artists before my Artist 360 presentation, and it's sort of become my mantra through life. I've been very excited since graduating from the MFA. Number 6, slow down. This is a very important tip from the comedian Mary Ryan Brown, who is my season 2 featured guest. We're very excited to have her. And it's especially important when nerves take over. I have a tendency to speak faster when I'm nervous, which makes me trip over my words, and then my voice starts shaking, which makes me even more nervous. But the only way to combat all of that is just to take a deep breath and slow down. The audience will forgive you for doing that. They probably won't even notice. They will, however, notice if you're talking a million miles a minute. Number 7, finish sooner than expected. If they tell you to go for 10 minutes, plan to go 8 minutes, especially if you're not the first reader. The crowd will love you. Number 8, if you mess up, don't sweat it. No one will remember it as vividly as you do. Something weird happens when you're on stage. Sometimes, despite your best efforts and your endless preparation, everything falls apart. Once those lights are on you and that crowd is watching, sometimes your brain takes a little vacation. It happens to all of us at one point or another. I once read a humorous essay on stage, and there were numerous times when I was laughing so hard that I had trouble delivering the punchline. And I hate that it happened at the migrant reading. I think you can kind of tell by this photo. But thankfully, the audience laughed with me. It was absolutely incredible. We all had a great time. On the other end of that spectrum, I have also once choked up at a reading, which was so much more mortifying because it was probably my most exciting reading up until that point. I got my own dressing room at the Walton Arts Center and a backstage tour and everything. It was so freaking cool. And I spent a lot of time reading and rereading my poems out loud to prepare. But then on stage, as I was reading my poem about gun violence and the death of my professor, Dr. Ethan Schmidt, who died in a school shooting, I choked up out of nowhere, and I was mortified. But when I looked into the audience, I saw that a lot of people were also tearing up. Because who hasn't been impacted by gun violence in America? So if you do mess up in some way during a performance, don't sweat it. No one will remember it as vividly as you do. I find this to be the case about every embarrassing thing that's happened to me in my life. One way to cope with those feelings is to ask yourself, will you care about this in 2 years? The answer is almost always no. No bad feeling ever lasts that long. Plus, I can promise you that all your friends have their own embarrassing moments that keep them up at night. At the end of the day, we're all just souls running around in meat suits. Don't overcomplicate it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope these tips help you prepare for your next public speaking event. Next week, I'll be sharing an interview with writer and comedian Mary Ryan Brown, who performs comedy on stage every single week and has much to say about it. Bye.